Avengers Endgame is the culmination of over a decade's worth of films, and host of us Video SCS wanted to celebrate this journey come end, whatever its outcome. We're each taking a deeper look at a single scene in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I want to narrow in on the subject of mental health in one of the most important scenes in Tony Stark's development. Meeting Harley in Iron Man 3. This is one marvelous scene. Who is Iron Man without the suit? This is the question at the heart of Iron Man 3, and for all of his story till this moment, the line between who Tony Stark is and who Iron Man is has always been blurred. This begins with his famous confession at the end of the first film.
I am Iron Man.
I am Iron Man. This was a proclamation that there was no distinction between him and the suit, and I want to talk about this scene in particular because it's where this idea is first challenged, and the Iron Man is sharply split into two halves, the suit and the man. It opens with Tony crashing into the wilderness of the blistering and dark Minnesota countryside. The suit is dead, and Tony is alone. To make this separation even clearer, he loses Jarvis.
Jarvis? Jarvis? Don't leave me, buddy.
Someone who has always been with him, the artificial intelligence who had been there since the creation of the first real Iron Man suit. In this dynamic, the man is stripped of all connection to the suit, which is broken and battered, much like him. The role reversal in this scene further highlights the line that they have drawn. Where normally the suit would carry the man is now shown to be dragging the suit through the snow. The parallel between these two halves of Iron Man is reinforced in the cinematic imagery between them in the scene. The best example of this is that when Tony finally drags the suit to an empty workshop, despite just being a hunk of metal, Tony goes to the effort to set him up on the couch like you would an unconscious friend after a hard night.
Let's get you comfy. You happy now?
This shot uses a clear symmetry between the two. The suit has its right arm resting beside it in the exact same way that Tony has his arm on the suit. Their heads are also turned towards one another, acting as a reflection, a mirror, and Tony turns the suit head forward before he too sits back, maintaining that sense of symmetry. But why does this distinction matter? The scene uses this distinction to explore how Tony sees himself and how he sees Iron Man. Though both broken by the world, the man and the suit are broken in different ways. The suit is worn beyond repair, like a broken body after a battle, while Tony is plagued with what he describes as anxiety attacks. These are scars on his mental health after the near-death experience in the first Avengers film.
Nothing's been the same since New York.
Whether to call it PTSD, as some people do, is up to people far more qualified than me, but he clearly suffers from a severe anxiety problem that interferes with his capacity to function on a daily basis as he once had. It's because of this that part of Tony Stark's arc in the third film is learning to self-care when it comes to his mental health. For some, this is just reaching out to get help from others. For others, it's allowing yourself time to heal after a particularly traumatic experience. Tony has always had this emboldened sense of invulnerability, that he is in control, that things are not beyond him. And this is why the Battle of New York seems to have such lasting consequences for him. It confronted him with his mortality in a way that he was not prepared for mentally. His mind had always been his greatest asset, his refuge that he can always rely on when things go south. The idea that he can't fight this enemy from behind his suit is frightening. For Tony, self-care is allowing himself to be vulnerable, admitting he's not fine, relinquishing this need for absolute control. But at this point in the film, he just doesn't accept this. In screenwriting, a character needs to have a goal in any given scene to build into the narrative, And Tony's goal in this scene tells us a lot about where he is in his character arc. His focus is wholly on the suit's welfare and not his own. How comfortable the suit is, which materials he needs to fix the suit, the dialogue when Harley harms the suit.
What happened to him?
Life. I built him. I take care of him. I'll fix him.
Like a mechanic.
Not a
Oops.
good idea. What are you doing? You gonna break his finger? He's in pain. He's been injured. Leave him alone.
Sorry.
Are you?
There is something of an externalization of Tony's pain and his mental state here. The man is overly dependent on the suit because he still firmly believes that to be Iron Man again, all he needs to do is fix the suit, that he doesn't really need to take care of the man, because that strength comes from the suit. But his mental health is not a problem with the suit. It's a problem that the man has to deal with. And this part of his psychology most clearly manifests in two moments in the scene. The first is at the beginning, when Harley identifies the suit itself as Iron Man.
Is that Iron Man?
Technically, I am.
Harley has only ever seen the suit, so to him, the suit is Iron Man. And for the first time, there's a doubt here for Tony about whether he is Iron Man. Technically, perhaps, he says, but he also acknowledges that not only he perhaps sees Iron Man in the suit and not the man, but that that's how others see Iron Man too. And for a man whose ego is fed by those around him, this conclusion is unsettling, and it drives that division between the man and the suit even wider in Tony's mind. And this realization takes place specifically in this scene, partly because of the film's structure. Iron Man 3 follows a very classic 3-act structure, with this scene following the end of the first act, where his house is attacked by the Mandarin. This is the first scene of the second act, which is intended to thrust the protagonist into a new environment, here in a way that forces Tony to begin changing as a character. It does this by directly confronting Tony with the question, is Iron Man the suit or the man? At this point, Tony has not yet allowed himself to process the trauma he faced in the Battle of New York, nor has he allowed himself to be vulnerable. He still believes that all of his strength and his heroism is derived from the suit. Because of this, he comes to no longer see himself as Iron Man, reflected in the second moment in the scene at the end when Harley asks his name.
What's your name?
Harley. And you're...
The mechanic. Tony.
Tony is just a man, and the Iron Man is the suit. His arc, of course, is to realize that it is actually the other way around, by grappling with his personal demons. That he is not made strong because of a metal suit or the arc reactor, but because of his will, his fortitude, and his character. And part of that is learning self-care in allowing himself to be human, to have struggles and flaws. That doesn't make him weak. That being strong means accepting that about yourself. This scene is one of Tony's lowest points, but I think it quite beautifully sets up this arc for his development by externalizing the struggle of mental health for many. And it resonates with me on a personal level because it sets up a character arc that I've seen many go through before and been through myself. This video isn't sponsored, but I would like to link people in with mental health resources, in particular, Crisis Text Line, the numbers for which are appearing on the screen now. If you're from New Zealand, like me, then Youthline is the ones you want to contact, and you can find their details below. Mental health can be really hard to grapple with, and working with these kinds of organizations myself, I know what kind of difference they make. Literally life or death at times. But never feel that your issue is too small or insignificant to contact them. I know that is something that a lot of people struggle with, that idea that other people need this more than you. And we actually see that in Tony Stark at points. He sort of pushes it aside with this sort of, it's not that bad, other people have it worse. And that idea of other people having it worse can be really toxic. Your anxiety, your depression, your loneliness matters. And these organizations are there to support you. Maybe Iron Man just needed a text or two. They can also link you in with more in-depth resources in your area and assist you better than obviously I can. This has been a really fun little collaboration, and I think it's a great way to celebrate the end of this grand phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's been really great reaching out and making some connections in this community, and I really encourage you to go check out all of their videos as well. I'm going to try and compile a playlist so that you can easily access them all. But what's your favourite scene in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and why? Let me know down below. Could be script, could be the structure, could be the colour theory for all I know. Marvel isn't normally the sort of thing I talk about, so this was a kind of interesting step outside the usual content that I make. Either way, stay nerdy, and I'll see you in the future.